Hello and welcome into a special edition of a Bunch of Punts podcast. I'm Smithy, your host, and over the course of the next coming weeks, we've got a special series where we are going to give you, the listeners, the opportunity to try and get to know us as podcasters in a little bit more detail with a little bit of fun on the way. First up on the show is our leader and eloquent host, Lewis. Lewis, how you doing, mate? You okay?
Thanks very much, Smithy. I think that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, well, there's still plenty of time, mate. So we'll see how we get on. But you're good though, yeah?
I'm very well, mate. I'm very well. It's been a nice few days up in Glasgow. The weather's been decent. Celtic are winning, so yeah, all's good. All's good.
Good weather north of the border, mate. In Scotland, what a time to be alive.
That's it, mate. Not very often. We were talking off camera there. We get about 10 days of sun a year. So it's important to get out. Is it vitamin C or vitamin D? I can't remember.
It's vitamin D, mate. But I'll be honest with you, England's slowly catching up because we're the same now. We literally have about 5 days of summer, and that is about it. So, but no, it's been a good weekend, mate. It's been nice to sort of get out, and I've usually barbecued a couple of times, so we're all good. So just before we do get going into a little bit about this show. Just a quick reminder for everybody on the who's listening on the show in terms of how you can find us and a bit about our socials. So, as usual, the show will be going out on all the normal channels, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and my personal favourite, YouTube. So, however you're listening to the show, please go and like, subscribe, rate the show, send it to someone you think might enjoy it as well. But more importantly, give us like a comment and let us know what you're enjoying about the show so far, just so we can engage back with you. And of course, check out our social media on TikTok and Instagram. TikTok at A Bunch of Punts and Instagram at A Bunch of Punts podcasts. And generally what we try and do there is just send out some informative, sort of fun, sort of banter, a little bit of debate, just to sort of keep you engaged in between episodes. So, Lewis, first up on this special series of shows, which I like to call About the Punts, right? That's a pretty cool name.
Enjoy that, mate. Well done.
That's good, right? So look, what we're going to be doing over the next sort of course of half an hour or so is I'm going to be the host. You're going to be the interviewee, if you like. We'll fire some questions at you. And it's just a case of, let's give our listeners a little bit more knowledge about who we are as podcasters with a little bit of fun as well. So how's that sound, mate? You up for that?
I'm up for that, mate. I'm up for this beer. It's nice and chilled as well. I hope you've got
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought that up, mate, because I just wanted to set some expectations. So first off to the listeners, this is very much like a, out of hours type show, right? So if you hear a little bit of bad language, like, I'm not apologising for it. I've given you a warning for it. It's two pals talking about football. We're going to have a beer, so the chances are a little bit of language might slip out there. So that's setting the expectations for the listeners. But for us personally, mate, as well, let's crack open a beer. What are you drinking there, mate?
I went for a Lucky Buddha, mate. A wee change from the tenants. You never had a Lucky Buddha?
A Lucky Buddha?
Oh, mate, Lucky Buddha's different.
Mate, what are you drinking north of the wall? I haven't got a clue. What is Lucky Buddha? What is that?
Mate, it's just a nice lager, mate.
Yeah.
Like I say, a wee bit of change from the usual tenants, mate. I know you guys south of the border.
I was expecting to see the gold grenade, mate, but what's going on?
Gold grenade, mate, honestly, I'd have been 18 cans deep if we started with one gold grenade. At least with the Lucky Buddhas, mate. I know I've only got 2 in the fridge, so that should keep me off it. That should keep me off it, mate.
That's good, mate. That's good. Well, I've gone for just a beer of Moretti, mate. So, I'll be honest, it's not my beer of choice. It's what's left in the fridge after the weekend. But they're nice and crisp in there. I do prefer them out of a bottle. I'm not a massive fan drinking it in pint format, but no, it's nice. So cheers, mate. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Okay, right. So just to fire off, mate, I'm going to do this with all the guests on the show during this About the Punts series that we've got. Some quick fire questions, right? So I'm going to nail these at you. Quick fire answers. So I'm not necessarily looking at like one word answers, but don't go into too much depth. Because what we're going to do is explore some of the answers in a little bit more detail. So you are looking nervous, mate. You're right.
I'm feeling the pressure, mate.
Yeah. Okay, so just to give a little bit of context, right? So in prepping these questions, some of these questions are genuine questions that the draft prospects have been asked during their combine interview stuff, and there's some random stuff here, mate. So I'll let you decide which ones might be a legitimate question, which ones I've sort of thrown in. But you ready for these, yeah? Okay, first up, I know the answer to this one, but favourite team?
Marcus Green Bay.
Green Bay Packers. First NFL memory.
The Packers winning the Super Bowl. First game I ever watched. Not been back since, so we'll look forward to that one.
Right, we're going to revisit that because that is out of order. All right, pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
No.
If you played in the NFL, what position would you play?
Tight end.
Tight end, okay. Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi, all day.
Best NFL memory to date?
Do you know, it's going to be Devontae Adams catching that touchdown on Jalen Ramsey against the Rams. Go for that one.
Yeah, love that, mate. PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation.
What animal would you describe yourself as?
Killer whale.
A killer whale?
Size is speaking.
Love that. Which team do you play in Madden and why?
Well, I normally go to the Packers, but I recently just had to face of the franchise with the Las Vegas Raiders. Fancy going to the Sphere.
Okay, cool. What do you do when you get up in the morning?
You get a drink of water.
Drink of water. Okay. Would you rather be a cat or a dog?
Dog every day.
And I love the NFL because
the athleticism. That's what stands out to me so much.
Athleticism, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. I do have to translate for everyone else south of Scotland sometimes because you boys have got some accent on you, which I absolutely love. Okay, cool, mate. So thanks very much for going through that. A couple of questions. I suppose what I want to do is just take it back to the start, really, in terms of like your NFL sort of story. So, when did you get into it? How did it sort of come about? And why did you become a fan?
Probably, like you say, the first ever game I watched was the Packers against the Steelers in the Super Bowl. I knew the Super Bowl was coming up. I was only 14, 15 at the time. I think I'd have been 15. And managed to sneak into campus. It's a bar in Scotland. Doesn't say much for the underage drinking.
14, woof.
15.
Good effort, mate.
And seen it there, and first and foremost, just from that moment on, just wanted to learn about the sport. Really enjoyed the night out. Again, it's when it's not something that's native to here. I think you want to go and learn it and soak it in. And don't get me wrong, it took me a few years to get properly into it after that. But seen a team in green and gold, and thought that's a team for me.
So that evening then, so how much of that was actually watching the Super Bowl? How much was it like on the pool, drinking beer, whatever?
A bit of both. I think when you're thinking back to it and I've watched it since, like those two teams were absolutely superb. Great players, big moments, great quarterbacks. So reflecting on it now, probably should have spent a little bit more time watching the game. But
the thing is, though, it's like we all watched Super Bowl. I remember before I got properly into the NFL, I tried to going to watch the Super Bowl. It's on really late. You put it on, and then within the first sort of first series, after the first series, you're like, well, I can't do this. It's stop, start. So I can imagine being like a 15-year-old lad out in a pub, just thinking, okay, I'm going to keep an eye on what's going on, but I've got other priorities, and I'm drinking a few beers and doing what else. But so what a start though. Is that why you become a Packers fan? Is it or?
Again, naive. I think I was soaking behind the ears, not even just wet, soaking behind the ears because I thought, they're great. This team plays in green and white and gold, and they won the Super Bowl. They must be brilliant. And then once you get into it, you just find out how hard it is to go and achieve that, isn't it? And that parity, the way the league's set up is for a team not to dominate. But when you don't know about that, I thought this team must be good. Playing the same colours that I like for my football team. That sounds good to me. And then once you start to get affiliated with it a bit more, I think the difference between the Packers and the other franchises around the league is that they're not based in this big city. They've got a different relationship with their fans. The fan-owned still, which is, I think they're the only fan-owned team. Someone might correct me on that, but just that when you start to learn a little bit more about it and the relationship grows between you and the team you pick, and I think obviously speaking with yourself, it's about just taking that step first and foremost and picking a team. With yourself as well. So for me, that kind of got me into it more when I started learning more about the Packers and their history and the relationship they've got with their fans and stuff. And that kind of worked out well.
You made a good point, because like we've all picked a team. Obviously, you picked Packers. I picked the Bears. My reasons for picking the Bears, is probably a bit different to yours. But you picked well. I mean, like, as much as they're a rival of the Bear, right? The Green Bay Packers. What I love about them and the Bears is they've got tradition. They're one of the oldest, franchises in the league. I think the third oldest are they? The Packers behind the Cards and the Bears, I think. So you've got that real tradition. Which is similar to like our football clubs as well, isn't it? In terms of us being United and Celtic fans, it's what you look for in terms of that tradition and that history and all that type of stuff. Yeah. And obviously the Packers got a better history than the Bears as such, but they're still thought of as one of these like founding franchises that have got a lot of history and a lot of success in the past.
Absolutely, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think, like they say, the tradition and having that stadium, and I mean, I'm very grateful you took me to Old Trafford as well, and you get into these theatres and you're taken aback when you're standing there, like, wow, think of the players that have played here, the games that have went on, the history within it, and that's really attractive, as well as that for me. And again, when it comes to kind of your own football teams, in terms of soccer, if you want to call it that, for this podcast, I love a rivalry. It's a big part of sport. It's what gets me going. Again, so there's that aspect of it. But I think the franchises that stand out throughout the league for me are the ones that have got great fan bases and that are in really, really cool cities. I mean, Chicago's a really, really cool place. I don't know if you've been personally, but just having that little bit of something different adds to it. And every franchise has got that. Every franchise, the people will have that there as well. So that's what kind of stood out for me.
I mean, like I say, you mentioned about picking well. I mean, he picked a good year to start becoming a fan. I've just done a little bit of research, right? So this is what blows my mind. And we'll come on to rivalries in a little bit at a time, but you picked well, mate, because you've mentioned that the first year you won the Super Bowl, maybe weren't massively into it at the start. You've obviously grown from there, but let's just have a look back for it. So since then, there's been 13 seasons, right? I'm just going to quiz you on this. Don't worry if you don't know the right answer. Out of those 13 seasons, how many losing records do you reckon the Green Bay have had at that time?
I think it's 3.
Three losing seasons, mate.
Yeah.
Do you know how insane that is, right?
That's mad.
I can't remember the last time the Bears had a winning season. I think it was 2018. So that is unbelievable. But out of those 13 seasons, right? So 3 losing seasons. The other 10, obviously, you've made the postseason. Okay, within that postseason, you've won the division championship 8 times. You've gone out 5 divisional rounds, 4 conference rounds, and obviously 1 wildcard round. So you mentioned about how difficult it is, obviously, to get back to the big one and go win the big one. But mate, you must realise how sort of lucky you are to have a team that has that sort of record. And in 13 seasons, only having 3 losing seasons, and getting to the postseason 10 times out of 13 since you started watching it, because that's when the league really comes alive, doesn't it? Really, you want to be in that postseason. Everyone talks about getting to the playoffs, and we'll talk about last season in a moment for you. But I mean, what's that be like as a fan of your franchise and that sort of success?
It's good, and when people from other franchises talk to you about it, you do feel a little bit spoiled, because in the NFL, and this is the thing, and some things that stood out to me as well, where like that there's still a losing season when you're Green Bay. I mean, it's called Title Town for a reason, but you've even seen the little kind of nod to the situation with the Lions, and they were hanging like winning the conference or winning the division, in terms of hanging that up in the stadium, and they were like we don't do that round here. We don't hang banners for winning the division or for winning the North. So there's that.
Is that true? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I suppose you don't know roof space left, right? Like you won't have nowhere to hang them anyway.
But no, you're lucky. You do understand when you look at it. You're lucky. I mean, you think of those seasons as well. What's that? 2 going with Rodgers being injured, I think would have been the situation with that. Or Rodgers picking up serious injuries. But it's good. I mean, the playoffs are really, really exciting. I don't think there's any time you get into the playoffs that you're not excited, because you just know that any team from that position can win it. You know, you're worst case scenario. What is it? Three games away from winning playing the Super Bowl.
Well, 4 if you go to wild card, I suppose.
So you're only 3 or 4 games away from winning it, which is always exciting. It's when the best teams play the best teams as well.
It's about hitting form at the right time as well, right? I mean, you look at last season. Look at the Eagles. You know, what were they like 10-0 at some stage or something like ridiculous like that? Dropped off the cliff, hit the postseason at the wrong time. You look at the Chiefs. The Chiefs, they didn't start off massively well last year. It was loads of talk. Oh, they're not quite right. And something mad that I sort of read was someone said it on a podcast, and it was like, the Chiefs are now that sort of team where they're like, we're just bored of the regular season. Like, let's just get to the post. Now we'll start playing like proper football, and that, like, for me is mad to think about. But going back to like the success of Green Bay, I can probably relate to that, because being a United fan growing up, saw huge success and very much took it for granted. The fact that this time of year, you just think, United are going to win the league. United are going to win the league, and they did. And you'd have Champions League performances and FA Cups and League Cups and that type of stuff. And then, like, now, like, United are in that situation where, the great man's left and they're in a complete, utter meltdown, really, as a club, and having loads of issues. Going back to, like, Green Bay, I suppose, like, the passing of the torch from Aaron Rodgers to Love, which will come on in a moment, it's just something that I just can't accept. I struggle to accept it as a Bears fan for obvious reasons. But before we come on to Love, let's just talk a little bit about Aaron Rodgers, because I'm keen to know what's your honest thoughts on him now, because I hear a lot that, particularly the latter years, Green Bay fans are a little bit sick of him and a little bit like, I've had enough of this guy now, a little bit like it's time to sort of move on for whatever reason, whether it be like him having too much control over the roster or getting guys in, or just being a bit of a fucking weird guy at times and demanding too much or whatever, which is mad to think about when you've got someone who's so successful within your franchise. What is he like? He's the greatest quarterback in franchise history, isn't he? But what was your thoughts on that? Was that true? Were you kind of ready to sort of like move on from Rodgers, or?
Towards the very end, I'll admit, I think I was ready for it when you kind of knew it was almost a formality that it was going to the Jets. It was very much just the fact, like, just cut ties, get it done, let's move on. I think when you take it in as a whole, a Hall of Famer, I think he is the best quarterback. I don't think he's the best player in the NFL. I think when you look at Brady and what he's achieved, it's a bit like the Messi-Ronaldo situation for me. I think probably Ronaldo's won more Champions Leagues, etc., etc., and that's what it'll be looked at going back. But just Messi's the better football player, and I think that's the same with Rodgers and Brady. I think, like, Brady has worked harder. He doesn't have maybe the talent that Rodgers has, but obviously worked hard to achieve what he has. And I think with Rodgers, again, just generational talent. Very lucky to have him. Again, exciting player. Could do it all, could make all the throws. In his younger days, could take off and run for still run for a few against the Bears in his last few games as well. But just an exciting player. But again, towards the end, you're thinking, like, just kind of get this done. I think the Pat McAfee show showed a really good side to Rodgers, because he was always heralded as like a terrible teammate, and he'd done this, he'd done that, or he wouldn't do this, he wouldn't do that. And I think obviously with Green Bay, he had a little bit too much power. And I think you've seen that in terms of the way the system's changed this year, or last year, sorry, with Matt LaFleur being able to run his complete own offence, whereas where it was so successful, and this might be to the Packers' detriment, was that it was almost like a hybrid between what Matt LaFleur wanted to do, but what Rodgers was willing to kind of compromise on to some extent.
There was talk of him just like at times being like, we ain't running that fucking play. We're going to do this instead. Like, and you just kind of think, like, that was the impressive thing about the Packers this year was, and we're going to come on to in a moment, but it was always like well, let's see what Matt LaFleur's got, because he can open up his whole offense, because it's not going to be tailored to Aaron Rodgers doing what he wants to do and picking the plays that he wants to do.
Absolutely, and I think even this year Matt LaFleur was maybe overlooked slightly in terms of what he achieved, because it was always labelled that Matt LaFleur, he was never going to win Coach of the Year because he had Rodgers, and then there he goes and takes Jordan Love, and the improvement from Jordan Love week on week was absolutely excellent. From a quarterback standpoint, I think it's getting that balance right. I think you see all the great quarterback duos and head coaches, Brady, Belichick, even kind of Mike Tomlin and Ben, Rodgers and McCarthy, and Rodgers and LaFleur, for example. There needs to be some sort of compromise, because I mean, if you've got a guy with Rodgers' experience and Rodgers' talent, you need to listen to that guy at the line of scrimmage, and that's a big thing. That's a big thing for me. I think even Dak Prescott, the changes that he made, and we all love that. Yeah, here we go. But just making those changes at the line of scrimmage and actually being a quarterback rather than just getting the player and playing that play. Yeah. Whereas if you know what's coming, or you've seen something, you can go and make those changes, and that's what makes the great ones great. In all honesty,
I think that's the thing about Rodgers, and it goes with Brady and probably all the greats now. He's seen everything, isn't he? There's nothing he hasn't seen pre-snap or even post-snap at all. Like, even these, exotic packages that may come up in, he can cope with everything. And you go back to sort of comparing sort of like Messi and Ronaldo when you talk about these sort of great players. The way I look at Rodgers as a Bears fan is that I couldn't fucking stand him. I'll be honest with you, because he was so damn good. He was just ridiculous. We talked about it before, but we'd pin him back in games, and you'd right, you'd be a key player. We would never be in the game, but maybe in the first two quarters we might be in it a little bit, and you maybe get him to third and long or something like that, and we're on top of him, and the defense is playing really well, and you think, right, we're gonna send the house, we're gonna get him, and he just come back with this ridiculous just sit back in the pocket, off his back foot, over the top, and it was just ridiculous. So when he tormented the Bears, I mean, is that famous thing where he's at Soldier Field, and I think we were on top, and then obviously that didn't last very long, and he's up there and he's I own you to the fans, and all this type of stuff. And you look back on that now and you think that's fucking brilliant. That's what's rivalry is about. Is you want that. And going back to football to sort of relate it, or soccer, if you like, I think about players I couldn't stand, when United win the leagues, and one of them was like Drogba. I just couldn't stand Drogba as a striker, because he was just so good, and I just didn't like the way he played. You look back at him now and you're just what a player. So you appreciate it the more they've gone. Do you think he underachieved, Rodgers? I mean, you look at the opportunities he had, and I don't know this for sure off the top of my head, so I'm just sort of throwing it out there. But we looked at those sort of stats in terms of the opportunities that he's had. If you just go back to 2010, that's his one Super Bowl, right?
Yep.
So after that, he's had 10 opportunities to go in the postseason, and he's got to 4 conference games, and he's not managed to get back to the big one again. No, I don't know how that compares to Brady and his record at the Pats. I imagine it's probably quite similar during that sort of time. And the Pats obviously got the postseason quite a lot. But do you think he underachieved, or what do you think?
I think to some extent, I think more so in the later years. You think of the one where it was 13-10 against the 49ers. You think of the kind of the one before with the 49ers again. Here we go again. Just steamroll you and run the ball over the top of you.
They definitely had your number, the 49ers, aren't they?
Yeah.
Isn't that something that's a bit personal to Rodgers, isn't it, the 49ers?
I think
because he's from there, isn't he?
Yeah. So they were very much the team that
linked to him, weren't they?
Linked to pick him. And there's that famous interview after the draft, and they were like, "Are the 49ers? Do you regret the 49ers not taking you or something along the lines?" And he was like, "Not as much as they're going to regret not picking me."
Yeah, so that must be mad. That must be mad frustrating that he's come across.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and I think the other aspect of it is as well. I mean, going on that, people kind of use that as a stick to beat him with. But I mean, he's won a Super Bowl since he was drafted, and the 49ers haven't. So, and you know how hard it is to get one. But I think the 2011 season, after 2010, the Packers were flying as well. They were unbelievable, and again, by all accounts, should have went and won it. But the Achilles heel for the Packers has always been not being able to compete in all 3 phases. So you think 13-10 against the 49ers, you're a block punt and miss field goals away from not being able to get there. Again, last year, missed field goals at really important times in the game kill you in that game with such a young offence. The year before as well, just not being able to compete on the defensive side of the ball. That's been the Achilles heel for the Packers. It's not been able to put it together in three phases. Bar that kind of 2010, 2011, those 2 years, that's been the Achilles heel. But at the same time, that's where you look at maybe a Mahomes or someone along those lines, maybe even a Brady that can maybe get it done. And again, the difference, in my opinion, is if you look at who had top 10 defences when you've got elite quarterbacks, that's the big thing. That's what won Kansas City Chiefs the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Defense.
Well, they led the league, didn't they, in sacks, pass rush and stuff like that. But I think with Rodgers, it's one of them. Like, you look back now, and even last season, you're watching Hard Knocks when he's at the Jets. I just couldn't help not like that guy, man. I just look at him, I'm just like, like when Brady kind of left the Pats and I didn't like him at the Pats, and then he goes to Tampa Bay and he's sort of like, it's his cool sort of Brady, and you're like, where's this guy come from? That's a little bit how I felt with Rodgers, and I was like, I was rooting for him. I couldn't believe what happened to him. It's so harsh, but I was definitely rooting for him because you just think like he's an elite talented quarterback, Hall of Famer. And I think he's going to get his recognition. He's going to get his gold jacket, no question about it. But maybe he thought that maybe there might be a run there. I don't know about him this year, maybe, but I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, if I was to pick a team outside the Packers to win it, I would have the Jets win it just to see him win another one. That's the kind of soft spot that I've got for him. Yeah. But no, absolutely, four MVPs. Brilliant Hall of Famer. Will go down history as probably the best thrower of the football ever. But no, that's it. Like they say, the Pat McAfee show kind of showed a different side that even me as a fan of Green Bay never got to see, because that was always the case. He was a bad teammate. He was bad this, bad that.
He'd always be like talking about leaving and like going on these sort of like weird retreats where he'd like go to blackout for like.
I'm not advocating
what
that Jordan Love goes to like a dark room for a week or something like that. Like, I don't think that's necessary. And if that's what you like to do in your spare time, then cool. Like, as long as you're winning us Super Bowls or getting us into the playoffs, and that's good. But towards
Bears fans love to banter him, but like Robbie Gould kicking that field goal and knocking him out in 2022 or whatever it was. But small wins for us, mate. Anything we can to pet you back on.
It's the Bears Super Bowl, isn't it, when the Packers get knocked out, mate? So
yeah, unfortunately it is. But look, let's move on, and I want to talk about Jordan Love then. I suppose, like, from my side of things, it caught me off guard, this, right? Because everything I heard from sort of Bears podcasts, Bears journalists, reporters, even national media to a certain extent, it was like, Jordan Love ain't good. Like, don't worry, Bears. Like, they're not doing it again. They're going to struggle. They're going to experience what it's like with quarterback play. And then I watched the first game, week 1, Bears Packers, and the Bears was shit. Like, the defense was terrible. But I was watching the game, and I was like, this boy can play a bit, man. Like, he's got something about him. And then I think it was like, he obviously struggled, and I think you were like 2-5 at one stage going to week 8. But I don't know what week it was, but I remember messaging you, and I was like, this motherfucker looks like fucking Rodgers, man. Like, there was this highlight of him, and I was just like, what is going on? And then he's obviously gone on his season, 4,132 yards, 32 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 103 QBR rating, which is pretty damn good. What's your honest thoughts on him? Have you done it again, Green Bay? Like, is he as good as you perhaps think? And what moment in the season did you sort of think, stop it? Like, 3 in a row, like, really?
It's love season. You've seen my Instagram post, mate. I've been there from day one, mate. Day one, back them. When initially,
but was that out of hope, or did you have like, were you sort of, I'm not giving you enough credit on him because I don't know. Caught a lot of people off guard, but
it's difficult. I think seen enough in a few games where the kind of game was done and he maybe got into the kind of maybe a quarter or so. Seen a few things that thought he's got the ability. When he was drafted, again, I spoke about kind of Dan Orlovsky and the kind of treatment that he gave him, and going back and reviewing all the footage and saying, look, the guy's got the tools. Where he struggled was kind of throwing the game away almost, and we kind of seen that earlier in the season, potentially even in the playoff game against the 49ers as well, where maybe just take your medicine, that's where Rodgers was good, throw it out of bounds, and then just recollect yourself and have one more chance at it. And then if it's the final play that you're throwing it away on, then people will forgive you for that. I think that gave me a bit of confidence. Understood why they done it. I think disappointed at the time because again you feel as if like we are one talented wide receiver, tight end, maybe a defensive player that could stop the run away from getting over that hump and getting back to the Super Bowl. But that's some franchises just don't want to be particularly bad, and I think Green Bay is one of those in terms of kind of staying there or thereabouts, and again, like you say, that shows you the consistency of it, isn't it? 10 in the last 13 seasons, 10 seasons in the postseason. So hopefully over the next 10 we'll be back as just as much, and we'll get over that hump. But I think the benefit Jordan Love's had is sitting behind Aaron Rodgers, and maybe having a little bit of a different treatment than Rodgers got from Brett Favre. I hope we've done it again. I think the difference is Jordan Love needs to make another step again next season. There's still some things in the play where, again, a young quarterback, but he's got a young offense as well. And I was thinking about those interceptions the other day, and I've actually got, I think like 3 of those were tip passes or like ones that were blocked at the line of scrimmage and stuff like that. So there's that element of it. So the stats make for really good reading, especially when you look at some other quarterbacks and the ups and downs that they've had. I really hope we've done it again, to be honest. I really do. Again, it's just about taking that next step, isn't it? I think.
I mean, it's mad to even think that you're talking about the next step, because I tell you what, Caleb Williams goes and throws for 4,000 yards and 32 touchdowns. He's getting stature outside Soldier Field because the Bears just aren't used to it. But you're right, he does need to take that step because look at the playoffs games, absolutely blow the Cowboys off the planet. Like I don't even know, they were massively informed. They got a really good defense. It was like 41-16 going into the fourth quarter, which is insane. But then you go against 49ers and he's thrown that mad interception out of nowhere, and it's those sort of things you hope he learns from. Absolutely. Because he's certainly got the talent, and he's got a great supporting cast like this young wide receiver group. Watson wasn't even healthy, I don't think, last year, was he? To be fair, and he was talked about as the next guy. Yeah. So
no, I think before we move on from that, I think like you say, when the only thing, and obviously a little bit about shells, like one thing I've always been told is progression is never linear. Progression never means that you're just going to go and win an extra 3 games, or you're going to go over that hump. That's not what progression is not linear in sport. So, hedging my bets a little bit there. I don't want to say I'm sitting on the fence. I'm all for Jordan Love season, baby. I'll be there. But I just hope we can make the steps, and the Packers have done everything to put the, like you say, the supporting cast around them, which makes for an exciting season next year. But the NFC North is getting better at the same time.
Well, it's fire, mate. It's got potential, hasn't it, to be all of a sudden going from a sort of a shitbag sort of division to being one of the best. Certainly offensively, it could be really special. But just before we move on from the Packers, mate, I just want to quickly talk about this rivalry between the Bears, because, like, is it a rivalry from your side of things? Like, how do you? We look at you like the big bad enemy, right? And we talk ourselves into beating Green Bay. Maybe we'll go 1-0. We'll share results over the course of the season. First game, week 1, I talked myself into a win. Obviously, that didn't happen. Last game, week 18, I talked myself into a win. We're in a bit of form, and both were absolutely terrible. So, like, for me, it's not really a rivalry anymore, like between the Bears and the Packers, because maybe I hope that changes this year. But until we beat you, we've got no sort of rights to call it a rivalry. What's it like from the Green Bay side of things?
I think it's a little bit different, and I think it's the history and how good Green Bay and how consistent Green Bay have been over the last as you say, since the last one, the Super Bowl. I think you see the way Green Bay gets treated with the draft in Detroit, even the Vikings and the Bears. There's a little bit of I don't want to say chip on the shoulder for the rest of the teams in the North, but consistently it has been the Packers, and again that's down to good quarterback play. If you've not got a quarterback in this league, you're absolutely off it. You're not going to be anywhere near it. And you've seen the difference it makes. Teams like the Texans, for example, 2 good players in there are 2 good additions, and they were absolutely flying. So it is a rivalry for me. Like I say, being a Celtic fan, you grow up with rivalry. It's the football here is steeped in it. I think rivalry is what makes sport, and whether that's the division rivals or whether that's in the conference, or like I say, whether it's meeting the 49ers, they might look at this the same as us. It's just Green Bay again. We'll run over the top of them. But for me, it's still a rivalry. I think it's just that the Packers have got this kind of, what's the phrase for it? They've got the crosshair. Everyone's got the crosshairs in the Packers when it comes to the NFC North, and that comes with the territory. It's tough at the top. It's even harder to stay there, mate. As we've seen last seasons.
So if you look at like this season, what the Bears have done. I mean, I've talked about it on the pod in terms of how excited I am and stuff. Like from your side of things, do you sit there with a little bit of nervousness, like, actually, do you know what? Like, they get this right, they could be banging trouble here, or are you just like, that's the Bears, they're gonna mess it up somehow?
No, a bit of both. I don't know if nervous is the right word. Excited for the season probably makes more sense to me. I think the NFC North, as long as I've been watching the NFL, has always been touted as the kind of the most dog shit conference. It's been a conference division. It's been touted as being the most dog shit. The Lions were absolutely immense for years. The Vikings, for all they've had really good players. They've only been in the playoffs what once. And the Bears haven't really been competitive for a while. Last season, I think the Bears were good, and like I say, the defense was good in the Bears. And if that'll be exciting for me, I think, is having more teams be more competitive.
So that's different. That's very different to to football, and like soccer. Like, I can't imagine you're like, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, you want a competitive Rangers in the league. Like, you want them to be. So it's really different, isn't it? Because with the NFL, you kind of like want other teams to be as competitive because it makes your division better. You want the North to be one of the best divisions in the league and stuff. So you don't want the Lions to be shit. You might want them to lose. You don't want them to be shit. You want them to be good, because then if you win, it trumps everything else, doesn't it? Whereas with football, you're almost like, I just want Rangers to be absolute shit. It's like me, Liverpool. I don't care. Like, I want them to lose. I don't want them to be good. I don't want City being good. I don't want Arsenal being good. I don't want anyone being good. Like, I just don't. It is different, isn't it, with the NFL?
Yeah, I think it comes back to the appreciation of how many stars play in the NFL. I think that would be different if you had maybe the Premier League's a little bit different from looking in. Like, I can enjoy a Premier League team. Man United's my English team, if you want to call it that. Soft spot for Villa for the time we spent in Brum together, mate. But I think you can appreciate the talent in it, and I think for me, looking at the Premier League, I can see that. You can see the likes of De Bruyne, obviously across the league you've got so many good players, but I think that's what the NFL gives me in terms of when you see guys like a Devontae Adams or an AJ Brown, or CD Lamb, or an Aaron Donald, or Travis Kelce, or Mahomes, whoever it might be. You can appreciate the talent, and I think I was listening to kind of JJ Watt's overlap.
Brilliant.
In the gym today, and he wasn't giving anything away of I had a hard time going to college, and I wasn't a number 1 or 5-star recruit coming out and all that. But the appreciation for these guys, to the level they've got to, what they go through, and that animosity about. I mean, he was a guy from Green Bay, Wisconsin, and ended up in Houston, Texas, and you can only imagine the disparity between those two places. But you've just got an appreciation for what these guys go through to get to the top level, what they put their bodies through on a weekly basis. And I've recently, over the last year, got into weightlifting and stuff like that, and I never realised how heavy 100 kilos was until you put it on a bench press, right? And I was showing that to my cousin who's a power lifter and was away with Team GB, and I never had the appreciation for, you see these guys like squatting 700 pounds in the gym, like your Saquon Barkleys or your Jalen Hurts, etc. And he was like, that's insane, like the level of athleticism. Like if those guys are running 100 metres or 100 yards in 4.24 seconds, that's like a train hitting you. I think with that amount of stuff, So
I think that's what we don't appreciate about the NFL is, like you mentioned about the athleticism being one of the things you love about it. You look at like Travis Kelce. He's, if you didn't know anything, you look at him and you go, right, there's a guy who's a bit maybe overweight or whatever. Like, is he athletic? Not only is he Hall of Famer in his position, but like, do you see him at the WWF?
Unbelievable,
like leaping over the ropes like it's nobody's business and stuff. Like you just think like it's a different type of like athleticism. Like whereas like an defensive lineman, defensive lineman, it's all about short distance power, isn't it? Like explosive over the line, as opposed to a wide receiver is all about sort of agility over a period of 20, 30 yards or whatever. It is one of the best things about the NFL. It's like nobody can compare it to any other sport because the athleticism of these guys is absolutely insane.
Well, you look at Pat McAfee, and he's a big advocate of it as a punter, and there was like, they've never really played football, etc. And he's huge, like he's enormous. Yeah. You see some of these tackles that these guys have to put in place, and I think it's insane. I think it's like I say, you've seen those clips of, I don't know if you've seen them, sorry, of Christian McCaffrey coming off like I think it was a late Thursday game or something.
Oh yeah, he's scraped to shit, and boot marks on him.
But then that guy's got to go again like the following week, that's after having played Sunday, and they often compare it to it's like putting your body through a car crash in the weekend and then going again.
They get banged up. I mean, it's just, I can't think what show I was watching, but it might have been like a Hard Knocks or I don't know, anything like, it might have been the NFL the International Pathway actually, I think on YouTube, and they were saying about the pads, and like they said we play in pads, and the pads, there's nothing there. Like, they don't do nothing. Like the pads just don't do anything at all. Like it's completely pointless. But I don't know. But you fancy being a tight end as well, mate? I'm not sure you got the minerals for that, pal.
I probably wouldn't get many yards after the catch, mate. I think I'd just catch it and hit the deck. No, we should give that a go, mate. That's because, mate,
Well, I'll tell you what, when it's your chance to do me interview, I'll tell you about my position of choice. But I don't think it's going to be anything too strenuous. It might be like a long snapper or a punter, mate. So look, we talked to quite a bit of Packers there. So no, thanks very much for that, mate. I'd love talking ball with you, mate. One of the things that impresses me is you're really, really knowledgeable. And I know obviously you're one of the key people behind the podcast and stuff. Just talk to me a little bit about how you go around keeping yourself educated, your knowledge levels, because it's so difficult to talk about the NFL with some purpose because it's complicated, right? And it can be quite daunting to talk about. But you speak really well, really eloquently, really knowledgeable. What's your plan really? What's your sort of go-to in keeping yourself up to date on knowledge and being able to sort of speak so confidently about the NFL?
Well, I'll let you know my secret, Smithy. My dad, he refers to me as a desk fairy. So that means that you work from home. So I've got Good Morning Football on early doors. You've got the Around the NFL podcast. The type of profession that we're both in. You've got some downtime in it, and you get your heads into reports and whatnot.
Yeah.
So you've got all that on in the background. I think the hardest thing to keep yourself up to date, and possibly the reason why we've came together to kind of start the podcast and whatnot has been around the layoff, the time that there is between, because the NFL is such a short season. It's 18 games regular season and then into the postseason. Whereas when it's football, it seems like it's all year round, and then you've got a Euros during the summer, and I'm just glad to be involved in that with Scotland, and we'll see how that goes. But that's my passion, like getting on, working away in the background. When you pick a team, you support that team. That's my aspect of it, and maybe other people treat that differently, and they just buy a jersey and go to games. I mean, we've attended games in London. Hopefully, big 3-0 coming up next year, so we'll maybe get a chance to go out to actually see a game in the US. But probably the podcast, the Pat McAfee shows, are one that I love listening to around the NFL. I think it's everyone's go-to, isn't it? And I'd probably say predominantly UK fans that listen to that. They end up on Sky Sports quite a lot, and they're obviously at the London games and get a chance to meet them. And myself and JK actually went to one of the bars that they have before the games on Sunday, and they have a lot of question and answer and stuff like that. So yeah, I think when it's your passion, it's on all the time, isn't it? And that's the same for the football stuff as well. I'll listen to some Celtic podcasts and you keep an eye on what's coming out. But I think it's the key thing there is the desk fairy part, where you've got quite a bit of time, you've got some background noise and there as well.
And that's a good thing about the NFL is that there's so much like content out there. You can watch podcasts, you can watch YouTube, you can read articles, you can dig into the archives and stuff. And if it is a passion of yours, you really can educate yourself. That's what I try and do as much as possible. And
100%. And there's so many ways to watch it as well. So more so in the later stages of the last few weeks when I kind of pulled you guys together to start the podcast and kind of took in more games. Normally I just watch the Packers. I'll get the Packers game on and watch that. Depending if the Packers aren't on, I'll maybe pick a game if it's a good game I'm interested in watching, or the Red Zones. There's so many ways of actually watching the NFL as well. You can specific to your team. Sky Sports do a great job of getting all the games on. But I think what's also helped as well, it's became so massive here in the UK as well. And like watching that JJ Watt one today, and I seen Roy Keane, for example, who's a big hero of mine in terms of playing football, and you've seen him at the Packers and 49ers game. And like these guys at the level of JJ Watt, they know Harry Kane's interested in the NFL. They know he's got aspirations to maybe kick balls in it. When he's maybe done in scoring 40 odd goals over in the Bundesliga, but there's so many ways to watch it, and it's so mainstream now.
It's brilliant. I mean, I must admit, like the London games, I've only been to 2 now. Couldn't get tickets when the Bears were in town last time. But I've been the last couple of years. Went to Wembley, went to Tottenham. I mean, it's just an amazing day out experience. Took the wife last year; she absolutely loved it as well. I haven't got a clue about which loves it. But for you, mate, you've been lucky enough to like see Packers as well, right? I know you lost the game. Was it Giants?
0.1% when watching the Packers live, mate. To make it worse as well, so my good mate JK, he's a Rangers fan, so he picked the Giants, red, white and blue. And we've all got our issues. But it was brilliant, and that's different as well, because it goes from a different atmosphere of when you're there just watching any two teams and you're in your Packers jersey and whatnot, and you can just enjoy the game. Whereas the difference with that one was there was such a big support for both teams. New York's a hop's get my jump really from London in a flight nowadays, whereas the Packers fans had filled it out and it was amazing. JK was absolutely pissed. He's still laughing when they've got the cheese heads over the heart for the national anthem and stuff like that. But like that's really different as well. It's such a different atmosphere because you've got, as soon as the Giants were on offence, the stadium was going crazy so that you couldn't get the play out. And then the opposite, it was like you could have heard a pin drop. You could hear the pin drop when the Packers were taking the field as well. So it's amazing. Like that aspect of it is so cool. And to see your team was unbelievable. It made it even more special that Jake were playing the Giants. Like say, he gutted to lose the game, but seen some amazing touches.
I bet JK was buzzing, wasn't he?
Oh, never heard the end of it, mate. Because the Giants were great that year. The Giants were really good, and they
how lucky is that? Like you both, because the Packers don't come to town very often. They don't travel, do they? Very often.
They were the last team. They were the last team to come to England.
So they come, and it happens to be the Giants as well for you and JK. That's quality, mate. Because I mean, I hope to get to go to the Bears game this year. Because I'll be honest, the times I've gone, you're that much enjoying the atmosphere. Like I can't even remember the game much, to be honest with you, because you just, I mean, I was about like 8 or 10 beers here, me and my pal Josh, like just before we even get in the stadium, then you just sort of like, you're going up, you're getting 4 beers, you're chatting to the people next to you and stuff, like I don't know, your cheerleaders will come out again, maybe like you see 3 or 4 plays, but I can imagine, like, as a Bears fan, I'll be like, don't talk to me, like, just heads down, I'm getting involved proper and stuff, but...
You forget, like, the talent that you get to see, so,
yeah.
Off the top of my head, I've seen Aaron Rodgers, Saquon Barkley, Aaron Jones, seen Trevor Lawrence, number 1 pick, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Zach Wilson,
brilliant.
Old Matty Ryan chucked at these last few weeks. You've seen so many brilliant players when you go to these games. And
I was
my brother as well. He's picked the Raiders.
Oh really? Yeah.
I think he just liked the black. I think he thought that'll make me look trendy for the Birds. But he's picked the black and silver of the Raiders there. But that's class. It's great. And
I always think about, like, I don't know about you, but mate, it's on my bucket list. I turn 40 next year, so I've been saying to the wife for the last couple of years, I'm going to Chicago. We're going to go September time. I want to get to Soldier Field and watch the game. I just wonder what the atmosphere like of watching a game there would be compared to like London. Because London games is all going to be like it's all brilliant. It's all like a family atmosphere. But what's it going to be like watching it at your own ground? I mean, I can't imagine going to Lambeau in sort of like January to be too much fun, to be honest with you, sitting on those benches. But is that like an aspiration for you, like a plan for you to try and get over there?
So I mean, I said
good like getting a ticket for Lambeau, though, right?
I said to the good lady, I would pay it. I honestly, I would pay it if I got the chance to go. And it'd be even better if you were playing someone like the Bears. Like, you had a really good matchup. I know someone that was lucky enough to go and see them play the Seahawks, and they shut the Seahawks down. I don't think the Seahawks only scored a field goal or something. It was insane. But that would be amazing. Again, it comes back to that kind of history aspect of it, where you see everyone, a lot of the players talk about Lambeau. I'd love to see that kind of Lambeau league. That'd be great to be right in the end zone.
It'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? Like, I'd love to go take in a college game as well. Like, I suppose if you went to like Chicago, you could go Notre Dame or something like that, maybe, or that'd be brilliant. So just want to pick up on some of your questions that you answered earlier, mate, to sort of finish the pod, because I don't know how long we've been talking for, mate, but we must be hitting an hour, are we? Or I don't know.
2 minutes, mate. We've ripped the arse at this, haven't we?
So, big Celtic fan, mate. Big Green Bay fan. I know you've seen Green Bay win a Super Bowl, but you didn't really know what's going on. You were too busy chatting with the Birds, mate. You got the choice between Celtic winning the Champions League, being there, or Green Bay win the Super Bowl.
Oh, mate.
You can only go to one, mate. Which one are you going to?
Mate, I know it's an NFL podcast, but if Celtic won the Champions League, mate, that would be amazing. That'd be amazing. Nah, listen, like,
I think there's more chance Green Bay there, right? So that
100%. I mean, even if it was the Conference League, mate, I'd take Celtic now. Like I say, both would be unbelievable. I think now that you're so vested in it, it would be insane. The time you spend late nights and whatnot. But mate, it's Celtic first, unfortunately. But the NFL podcast, but Green Bay is a close second. I'm just as miserable if Green Bay get beat.
To go back to your questions, then, your favourite memory, you talked to me about Devontae Adams' catch. Was it against the Rams? What did you say, Jenny Ramsey? Why is that so special for you, mate?
Do you know what? Like, again, it's like these great matchups and like the athleticism and stuff like that. And I just remember that run, and the Rams were really, really good under McVay. And there was a lot of talk, and I don't know if you've seen it beforehand, and obviously we're talking about maybe who was a top 5 cornerback, who was top 5 receiver, and these two had words at the start of the game. I don't know if you've seen that. There's like the good NFL clip where you can hear them both chatting to each other, and it's like, if it's going to be a matchup, don't you run hiding, like you be here and X, Y, and Z and all this, and it gets quite heated. And it's just great trickery on the line of scrimmage, and Adams makes a great run. It looks like it's orchestrated by Aaron Rodgers, of course, but he makes a great run, and Ramsey just can't cover him. He can't get to the other side. He catches the touchdown, and you can just see like how much it means to these guys. Like,
really,
like
Was it regular season game, or was it post season? Or
I think it was post season. I think that was the post season. Would that have been the post season? I think it might have been. The post season. But just one of those ones where that connection. I've seen. God knows how many touchdowns they've threw from Rodgers to Adams there as well. But that was they two were absolutely dynamite. So one that sticks out. To be honest, I think. I mean, if I was being pressed on it now, maybe Mercedes Lewis catch in London would have been another good one. Seeing that live, just like the full field just runs one way, and Mercedes Lewis just goes away, and there's no one anywhere near him, and it's just like it was like a shy almost. And his hands in the end zone, it was unreal. But no, I'll stick with the Adams one. I think that's one late night, being up late, and just like an unbelievable catch, and the NFL film that adds to that animosity.
Yeah. I mean, the NFL capture these moments so well, don't they? I mean, I've been lucky enough to not have much to shout about as a Bears fan, but Justin Fields certainly provided plenty of like highlight plays most of the time with his legs, but certainly some of his arm as well. And the way the NFL just sort of take these clips and make them into like a little mini film and stuff. Like I love the like the highlight packages the NFL put together, the Bears in season view or whatever it is and stuff, and they just market it so well. But because the NFL is just like set play every time.
Yeah,
you put off a highlight package. It's just brilliant.
There's the one where like I remember sitting one night watching it, and it's like you've got like the kind of 4K camera or whatever it is, and I remember being like what is that camera like?
I remember that as well. I was like, the camera is insane.
I think it's the Rams as well. The first one they done it, and it was just like these guys feel as if they're in your living room. It's insane.
That 4K camera was ridiculous.
They do such a good job of marketing it, and like you say, I know there's a lot goes into it, and like you see with the kind of atmosphere in London games and stuff like that, but they do it so well. So good.
Yeah, the camera angle was great. I mean, the technology, I love to like see the pylon cameras and that type of stuff. 4K camera is wild. The bird's eye view is brilliant as well, and the camera is great as well. Did you see Tua in training camp when he had the helmet camera on?
And you're like, how did these guys find like, any sort of like sense of direction in this when people are all over the place? But another one that's good as well, like I love the fact that the ref's got a mic. So like, did you see that one last season? It was like, hold on, son, I'm talking to America here. Like that. Like, it's insane. Like,
they have all this brilliant stuff, and then like it just makes me laugh when they try and measure they get the chains down that they try and measure first, and he's just like, surely there's a better way of doing that. Like, get some sort of technology on the field. And they're so biased sometimes. They're like, there's about that much a gap. And they're like, first down, no problem. Especially as the Packers are like, you can have that, man. No worries at all, mate.
It's mental.
Right, let me just see if there's anything else I just wanted to wrap up on, mate, before I sort of let you go. But so just looking back at some of your questions, you're not a fan of pineapple on pizza, no?
Mate, like, do you know, if I could be one thing in life, I would be Dave Portnoy. I would be like the still president.
Just go around eating pizza all day, giving reviews, like,
Honestly, I am a slut for pizza. But, honestly, mate, it's so good. But nah, not a pineapple.
What's your go-to pizza? Loads of shit on it, or just a bit of pepperoni, or?
See, it depends. Mate, I'm a total pizza connoisseur. The next time you're in Glasgow, mate, I'll take you for a few slices. But I like there's one local to us in East Kilbride. It's called Tin Auto Pizza. Shout out if they want to sponsor the podcast. They do a New Yorker, which is
ham and mushroom and
pepperoni, salchicha, pecorino, and hot habanero honey. And it's insane. But bog standard, like if I was just going somewhere for the first time, pepperoni, mate, just nice and easy.
Can't go wrong with pepperoni.
Even the one that comes out of like The Simpsons, where it's just like the cartoon pepperoni. I can't remember what killer whale, mate. I'm not even going to touch on that one. To be honest with you, mate. Get up in the morning. Favourite animal.
Favourite animal, killer whale. Yeah. Why is that? Because you traumatised from Free Willy, mate, or something, or what's going on?
Nah, mate. Listen, I'm for Free Willy, Free the nipple, all that stuff. But like Mate, just like intelligence in it, minted. Like you've seen some of those David Attenborough snippets, and it's just cool. Planet Earth. Love it.
It's going to be. It's going to come off my phone now because obviously they listen to you, don't they? So I'm going to go on like Instagram and just give loads of killer whales eating sharks or whatever. I think that's probably as much we're going to go through tonight, mate. So listen, thanks very much for taking the time to have a chat about it. Really enjoyed the Packers chat. You can tell you're really passionate about your team, which is great. I hope you have a competitive season, but not quite as good as the Bears, mate.
There's a little bit of malice in there, mate. A little bit of malice.
Yeah, I can't help it, mate. Like I just literally just look at those stats again since you won the Super Bowl, 10 postseasons and four conference championship games and stuff, and it's just like I can't even imagine what that looks like. So you're a very spoiled fan, mate, but you're passionate for your team. Is there anything you wanted to mention or talk about that we haven't sort of spoke about, mate?
Not particularly, just again, just an opportunity, isn't it? We've been so blessed on TikTok and the Instagram with the people that have reached out and the people that react. And I mean, you're the driving force behind that with some of the cracking memes that have came out. Is it memes, whatever you want to call it? Local memes. And that, like, we've been really grateful for the response that's received. And listen, we can only make it better, and we can only improve, and we can only react to what we get in. And I think that's the main thing for me. Like, we really enjoy doing this, regardless of how many people listen and how many people comment or like it. But the more that you can give us, the more we can give back to you, I suppose, is my message. Because I've enjoyed that, getting back to people on, whether it be the TikToks or the Instagram or even, I mean, there was something like 4 questions left on the last Spotify episode and stuff like that. So these things they're absolutely fantastic. So thank you very much for everyone that's tuned in so far. Hopefully this hour of me talking about being a killer whale in a past life hasn't put anyone off. But no, thank you very much to everyone that reaches out.
No, thanks, mate. It's been a pleasure hosting you. Listen, I hope people do really enjoy the opportunity to hear from us a little bit more. I know it's been quite, NFL driven, but it is an NFL podcast. I don't know if people are that interested in like your first love and when you lost your virginity and stuff, but like if people want to get a little bit more personal on this type of stuff to give more insight into Lewis, then please let me know and I'll get him back on again to give him a bit of a grilling, mate. But you've been an absolute pleasure to talk to, mate. So really appreciate that. So that wraps up the show for us, guys, for this special edition of A Bunch of Punts podcast, which I titled again About the Punts. Just a reminder to leave us some comments. Like Lewis said, we want to try and engage with you, grow our community, our audience. Like and subscribe as usual. Share the podcast, rate the podcast, and be sure to check out our socials on TikTok at A Bunch of Punts and on Instagram at A Bunch of Punts Podcast. Until next time, I've been your host Smithy. Lewis, thanks very much for your time, and we'll see you soon.
See you, folks.